Hey everybody, this is Allison from NoFarmNeeded, and today, are you ready to get book smart? I'm talking about book smart with pressing flowers. The art of pressing flowers with one of the easiest ways, using books. I first learned how to press flowers using books from my grandmother. She taught me how to press four-leaf clovers to add a little luck to tests and get an A. Did it work? I like to think so. Today I'm going to show you how to use just a simple book to make such beautiful artwork such as this, and create pressed flowers that will last you all year round. Now, to start off, you need a great book. I would highly recommend using books that you find in your house that you're no longer reading or no longer using. I have seen people use library books before, and I have actually done that before, used library books, and ruined the book because of the water. When pressing flowers in books, you're going to get a lot of moisture because you're pressing flowers between different pages and the moisture is supposed to leak out. You ruin books by water, so use something that you don't mind getting ruined. I also have decided that as a precaution, I had this manual of woody landscape plants. I use this in school and still look at it today. But one of the things that I wanted to point out to you is that the quality of the paper is different per book. This paper has a better quality paper, as in the paper is shiny, it has a film coat to it. So when you're pressing flowers inside a book like this, then the flower's moisture is going to go straight back into the flower and it's going to make the flower moldy. The moisture is not going to spread out in between the sheets of paper. Instead, it's just kind of going to sit there in a puddle. Use this book as a weight and not as the press itself. I've gotten this book from the library. It was one on their sale. I got it for 25 cents. And it's great paper because it doesn't have that sheen to it and it'll soak up moisture nicely. So when you're first deciding on what book to use, always decide on which flower you're going to use, because the flower is going to depend on the book, especially the size. I've pressed things like woody stems straight from trees, and you're going to need a bigger book instead of just this. So for single flowers or for small double flowers, this is best, but a bigger book is needed if you're planning on doing bigger flowers. Today I started off with something simple, easy flowers that are very easy to press in books and that I highly recommend if it's going to be your first time to press. First off, we have Coreopsis. Coreopsis is great because it's a nice thin stem and its flowers are delicate without holding a lot of moisture. They're also a great pop of color. So this is my Coreopsis that I pressed in a book for 3 weeks, and look at the color on that. This color is going to last and bring me something forward for spring when I see it in the winter time. So I'm going to open straight into the middle of the book. I like starting pressing flowers in the middle of the book because this allows me to start flipping the pages towards the front and then flipping the book over towards the back. You can start anywhere, I just like the middle. And you're going to need flowers. So I like to go out into my garden about 3 minutes before I'm going to press. You don't want your flowers to stay out being pressed for too long or they get very wilty. And you're just going to make crisp, clean cuts. If you see my other videos on how to correctly cut flowers for pressing flowers, this would be a great time to view it now. And also, I've had, just as a side note, before we start pressing, people have said to me, Allison, doesn't cutting these flowers and then pressing them kind of take it away from pollinators? Doesn't it take away from butterflies and bees? Don't mind the plane. And I tell them it's exactly like deadheading. For deadheading, you get rid of old used flowers, you cut it off the plant, and new flowers refresh. This is similar to deadheading. You're just taking a fresh flower, cutting it off, and more flowers were flushed. Don't worry, the pollinators will be fine. If you're that worried, don't take all the flowers on the plant. Just start with one and go from there. Like Coreopsis, Verbena is also a great flower to use because it has multiple flowers on a single panicle. And the stem is nice and straight, so you're going to get a nice, crisp, clean line. I like to start when pressing flowers, you start kind of in the top corner and you want to make sure you press down because exactly on how the flower lays and how you're going to press your book is how the flower is going to be finished product. Don't get near the edge because if you get close to the edge, you're going to get a crinkled flower and they're going to sit in the crack and it's going to ruin the petals. So stay away from the edge and make sure they don't lay on top of each other. It's kind of like a puzzle game. This is my Calibrachoa. You can use anything. I wanted to get a range of flowers that you can find anywhere in a garden or garden center if you want to just, pinch a couple flowers off of there to start. Then, once I'm done laying my flowers down, I like to take about a good chunk, probably 10 to 15 pages, and lay it atop my book. I press down from there, and then make another row. This is geranium. Like verbena, geranium has multiple flowers per stem, so you can either keep geranium like this, or individually take the flowers off and place them down. It's going to give you a nice bright pop of red. And geranium smells good. That's why I like it too. Yeah. You can either press this stem as well, or you could toss it to the side. It's up to you. Again, I'm taking 10 to 15 sheets, pressing down, and then making another row of flowers. I've done salvia before. You might have seen salvia in my other videos. Salvia, again, it's awesome to use. I mean, look at it pressed. It keeps a nice bright purple color on the top, and even its leaves are nice and crisp and will look great in arrangements. With pressing flowers, you can either keep the leaves or just the flower. I like the leaves kept on to press because I think it gives it a more of a natural look than just the flower itself. Here's one more for verbena. Here, I'll show you. I could take the head off, discard the stem leaves, and kind of just put the flowers around. Watch out, verbena is kind of sticky, so you want to make sure you don't get it all over your fingers. When you're done pressing your flowers, you want to make sure to put it in a location that has a weight on top of it. If you just leave your book like this, there's nothing to get the moisture out. Your flowers are just going to sit there, wilt, and eventually mold. You need a weight, and this is where my manual of woody plants comes in to put straight on top. You're going to leave your flowers weighted for about 2 to 3 weeks and then take them out, and you're going to get a nice crisp pressed flower. If your flowers aren't being pressed, and you can tell because when you touch them there's still a tiny bit of moisture in them, put them back in, fold back up the book and put them back in between the weights and wait another week. I've put books, let's say, underneath mattresses. I've put them in my couches. I've put them in between library books before, but not pressed them in library books. I've put them everywhere that there is a weight. You just need pressure to put it down. Have fun pressing flowers. Use the weighted book. Let me know how it goes, and let me know if there's any techniques you want to see besides starting with the simplest book. Bye!